All right. Welcome to Not Suitable for Adults podcast, kid stuff. Man.
Take 4,000. You guys, so let's start. Let's tell
the whole story.
Beginning. Everybody knows that we had a terribly garbled, bad static episode a couple of months ago.
Yeah.
And that's when we realized we're having some input issues with Rich's computer. We would just test before each episode to make sure that it wasn't being all weird again.
And after the problem episode, it worked fine for a while.
It worked fine for a little bit. We went on vacation, and because we were going on vacation, we pre-recorded an episode so that you guys wouldn't have to miss out on too much.
Yep.
We got to the hotel that evening. Rich went to edit or post or whatever on his computer that he brought with him. He opened his computer, and his computer had completely reset itself.
Yeah.
Like factory reset.
Well, weirdly, like all
the files were gone.
Yeah, so my editing program was there. A video program I used for other projects was there. Just the files. So like my it was weird. Like my background was reset. There were no icons on my desktop. All my files were gone.
He shut his laptop in a fit of rage.
I slammed it. I slammed it closed.
You slammed it closed. He was quite frustrated. And I was like, listen, we're on vacation. Everybody can just understand. It's fine. We'll figure it out when we get home. So we got home. Rich goes to open his laptop and try to figure out what happened. And all of his files are back.
Yeah, it healed itself.
It healed itself.
Which, sometimes technology does.
So that's the episode you guys got that we thought was a lost episode. Okay. A couple of weeks ago, we also went ahead and recorded an episode.
Yeah, just last week we recorded our normal episode.
We got through the whole episode. And suddenly Audacity, which is our program that we used, just froze up after we were literally doing like the outro.
Yeah.
It froze up. We were like, okay, let's see where we need to start back. We started with the recording, and it did that static,
that garbledy-gook grossness.
And yet again, Rich was just fit to be tied.
I'm on the hunt for a new laptop. It's the laptop's fault. It's not the program's fault.
Right. But now we are on my computer. Hopefully this is going to work. Also, today, right now, this is our third go at this.
Yeah, we did several like initial takes to like try and get it, and then like, yep, figured out, got it, let's start. And we stopped for...
Luckily, it wasn't at the very end of our episode.
It froze like in the first 4 minutes of recording. So about close to now, actually, is when it froze.
So Rich just grabbed my laptop and downloaded all of the programs it needed. During that take that we were doing just a few minutes ago, I was holding my phone. We were trying to figure stuff out, and... my palm was hitting my phone, and I didn't realize it, and it erased all of my notes that I was going to use today. So I am going to use Wikipedia.
Yay!
And I think it should have everything that I was going to talk about anyway.
Yeah.
But usually I go to Wikipedia, or I go to a couple of different sites.
Natalie
Natalie
gets her own notes. She actually takes notes.
I do. I compile what I want to talk about, but all of those notes were erased not 7 minutes ago.
Yeah, it is whatever in the Cosmos controls podcasts.
Yes.
And we are sorry for whatever we did.
Yes, the podcast entities are angry at us, and we don't know why.
And maybe it's because we don't believe in them.
I mean, it's true. We don't really believe in them.
Okay, let's try to podcast.
We're going to podcast, you guys. We're using my computer. Hopefully it works out, and we're just doing our best over here.
We're doing our best.
We're
That's all I
not
can
slacking. And that's the thing is we're not slacking. We literally have been recording podcasts that have been erased or
not releasable.
garbled
Yeah.
or whatever. So here we go again.
All right. So yeah, this is the third time I've talked about this particular subject. I'm not sure, but I have talked about it.
And I am so tired of hearing about it.
Every single time an episode has garbled, I've talked about this thing.
So maybe it's this topic that is messing up the podcast. Maybe we shouldn't talk about it.
That doesn't make any sense because it's Mighty Ducks Game Changers. It's the show that's on Disney Plus based on the original amazing movie series called The Mighty Ducks.
And I'm gonna say the things that I've said three times in a row.
You're
already.
not. That's the thing. So we talked about it earlier. I'm just going to give a very fast rundown of this show this time. In the previous 2 attempts, I've done more of a full breakdown. I have seen the whole thing. There's 10 episodes of the show. But I'm not going to do a full
So that's one season? Will there be more seasons or did it end?
Everyone so far has indicated a second season is forthcoming. Okay. It hasn't officially been greenlit, I don't think, by Disney. But Emilio's talking about next season. The producers are talking about next season. Okay. So in theory, unless something terrible happens, there will be a season 2 of Mighty Ducks Game Changers.
Okay.
I won't do a recap like I did the last 2 times of the Mighty Ducks movies. You all are in there. There's a scrappy group of kids. They shouldn't work. They shouldn't be good at hockey together, but they are.
Just like the Big Green and soccer.
Just like the Sandlot and baseball.
Yes.
So, except all those kids really practice baseball.
Oh,
so that's a little
bit
different.
They were all actually good at
Just
baseball.
the one kid was bad at baseball in the Sandlot.
Yeah.
Here's the point. That's the original movies. This is actually set. Does not butt up against those movies. It's set in the present. I'll give a quick, just sort of synopsis of what the situation is when the season starts. There's a young man. I don't have any of the show information in front of me right now because we're on a different computer.
Yeah.
So I don't have it in front of me. There's a young man, Morrow. I feel no, not Morrow. He has a last name.
Sure.
He is on the Mighty Ducks. He's on the team that exists because of the original movies in whatever little town in Minnesota that is set.
Right.
He's on the Mighty Ducks. His mom is
you said his mom is Lauren Graham.
Yeah, his mom is
Laura.
Lauren
Graham.
Lorelai
from the Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, from Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
She's she's not a lawyer, but she's an aide.
Like a paralegal kind of thing?
Yeah, she's like a paralegal I
don't know what the difference is.
At the Ducksworth Law Firm, which is the law firm from the original Mighty Ducks movie. It's the one that Bombay worked for it in the first Mighty Ducks. And so she works there, and she's alone. It's her, she and her husband are divorced. She's taking care of their son by herself, and she's just doing her best to be a good mom, work, and make a living, and also support him in his extracurriculars, which unfortunately, from the very beginning, it seems isn't working out because they're they're constantly late to practices.
Right.
And because of that, her son is falling behind and not being as good as the rest of the team. He gets cut from the Mighty Ducks.
And that's it makes your heart go out to those people that are literally trying to do everything
totally
by themselves with no extra support.
Right.
And yet they still make it to the games and they still do their best. But anyway.
The coach of the new Mighty Ducks is Riley from Letterkenny.
Yes, Letterkenny is suitable for adults. It is not suitable for children. No. And I'm telling you, adults right now.
You better watch it.
You guys.
You better let that marinate.
It is one of the funniest things I've ever seen. There are a couple bits that I feel are okay, I'm over this. Let's move on. But it's...
They really like to talk about farts on that show. Farts.
Well, they're Canadian, and apparently that's a thing
I feel
Canada?
That might be a thing.
Okay.
Hang on. Let's do a quick aside, because we haven't talked about this. Here's several things. We're not going to swear or anything, but everything we're talking about right now is for grown-ups.
Yes.
Oh, Natalie asked me about this. We were watching Letterkenny, and they do talk about farts a lot on that show.
Yes.
They have a lot of sort of running bits, but most of them age out after a season or two.
Right.
But farts are present throughout.
Always. And I don't think it's particularly funny. So when they get to those bits, I'm like, okay, let's get over and get to the funny stuff.
So Natalie asked me, we watched this separately. I watched the whole thing, and then Natalie watched the whole thing. And she was like, what's the deal with farts? I was like, here's the thing. I was like, I don't know. I haven't done any research into this. I have only 2 points of data when it comes to Canadians and farts. I have Letterkenny, where almost every episode has a fart joke.
Right.
And I have every reference to Canadians in South Park, which also has them constantly doing fart jokes. And so, like, I don't know. And that was pre-Letterkenny.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that's a thing, like if Canadians are just really into fart jokes, or if this just happens to be a coincidence, but there are a lot of fart jokes in Letterkenny.
If you guys know, if you're Canadian,
oh man, please, there's a handful of you in Canada. We know that because we can see the tracking on we can see our geolocation. If you guys are
Canadian, would you please let us know if like fart jokes are like a thing for your country,
or if the much more common thing, the much more likely thing, which is that we in America have generalized you to a certain set of jokes.
Right. Maybe we just.
Although I'm pretty sure
we are completely wrong.
I mean,
which is probably what it is.
I'm pretty sure Jerry Kiso is Canadian, so like that show's made by Canadians.
Oh yes, absolutely.
But anyway, if you're from Canada or any of the northern states
we'd love to know.
Are connected to Canada, and you know the answer.
Because we do fart jokes here. We
Sure.
absolutely do. But it goes to the point of almost a little too much for me.
Yeah.
And that's just me personally speaking. So.
But anyway, if you've watched Letterkenny and you know the jocks, you know the hockey guys.
Yes.
Riley is the
long hair blonde guy.
Is like the head coach of the New Ducks, and the New Ducks are like the Hawks from the original Mighty Ducks movie.
So he's like terrible.
He's bad. He's all about wins. He doesn't care about kids having fun. It's still Pee-wee hockey.
The Mighty Ducks turned into what they fought against in the original movies.
Exactly right. And where's Gordon Bombay? No one knows.
Yeah, dead.
No, false. He didn't die.
I know, because you told me about this 3 times already.
So anyway, the mom wants to cheer her son up after he gets cut. And so she decides she's going to start her own team, a new team, in the same division.
Freaking Lauren Graham.
That sounds like such a Lauren Graham thing to do.
It is such a Lauren Graham thing to do.
She attempts to start her own hockey team with her son. And they have to like go find all the kids at the school who like don't play hockey and aren't interested in playing hockey because they have to make a team. Yeah. And so they put together a new ragtag diverse group of kids. Sure. They are able to steal one kid away from the Ducks because and it's the girl that the boy has a crush on. Sure. And so just to let you know what that looks like, there's like a gamer kid who like plays video games in his basement all the time, and he becomes the goalie because his reflexes are so good.
Okay. Yeah.
There's a kid who is my favorite part of the show. I think his name is Alex Simpkins. Again, I don't have it in front of me. That's the real life person's name. Yes. He plays the plucky, like, comic relief best friend character, and he is legitimately the funniest person on the show. They give all the best lines to this kid. Keep an eye on him, because when he gets a little bit older, he's going to be really funny.
Well, we kind of said the same thing about Dustin, what's his face from Stranger Things. Yeah.
Although I feel like didn't he? Here's another quick aside. Didn't he have like a Punk'd style prank show that like went under because it was way over the line?
Oh, I think he did, but I don't remember that being.
And I think it's weird because he's like not old. He's like 15 or something.
Yeah, he's a baby.
And they gave him a show, and he's like, all right, cool. Let's go to this is not real, but it's not far off. He was like, let's go to these people's house and burn their house. And they were like, oh no, like we wanted fun. We wanted something fun. We don't want to hurt people. He's like, I think we should hurt people.
No, stop it. I don't believe you.
He did. That's not what I just said is false, but it's not false that he proposed a lot of way too extreme pranks and they decided not to develop his show.
Well, probably because he's 15.
Yeah, for sure.
And doesn't know. I mean, I don't know how old he is, but he's a teenager.
Alex Simpkins, assuming I'm remembering his name correctly. Very funny.
Yes.
And so they put together this group. There's like two girls who, like, one wears a cape to school and she's like a D&D nerd.
Yes.
And there's a girl who's like on the cheerleading squad.
Nice.
But she's kind of like the black sheep of the cheerleading girls. And they become best friends. And so anyway, they're able to successfully compile a team. Across the 10 episodes of the season, they go through the things you expect them to go through. So like it's mainly a preteen drama.
Yeah.
And so like there comes a point when the main kid gets an opportunity to play for the Ducks again. It's like, do I go back to the really cool, good hockey team?
Yeah.
Or do I play for this bad hockey team that we've made and we're building from the ground up?
Yeah.
Will we learn how to play hockey? Of course we will, because guess what? At the end of episode 1, they found Gordon Bombay. They found him. He
was living in the gutter.
he owns a really bad ice rink in town.
Well, good, because they need an ice rink.
Exactly. They literally track it down because like there's 2 ice rinks in town and no one knows about the second one.
One's the good one and one's the janky one.
And he's basically like, no, I hate hockey. And Lauren Graham's like, I'll pay for the ice time. And he's like, well, okay then.
Of course.
So it turns out he hates hockey. I won't tell you why, but he's gone through a lot of drama in his own life. And so anyway, we get to the other side of it. And like I said, it's a preteen drama. So the beats are not unexpected. The things that happen are very obvious. Especially if we watch the old movies, like it sort of follows a pattern. And so nothing is surprising, but it's all very fun and very good. It feels like there's like a thing about getting people like super into, maybe it's just because I watched Letterkenny and then saw like this came for me right after I watched Letterkenny. And so it feels like, for me, it feels like, man, every show's about hockey, but it's not.
No.
But also like, but with the same guy in
Letterkenny's
it.
not even about hockey.
Yeah, a lot of it's about hockey.
There's a lot of hockey, but it's not about hockey.
Will Snipes, Silly Boys. And so anyway, it's very good. It's very, very good. It's worth watching. There's a lot of like complex things, so it's probably not for the littlest kids.
Yeah.
But nothing's inappropriate. Nothing happens on the screen that you wouldn't want any kid to be.
It's just that they may not have the attention.
They may not get it
at the
right.
time. Yeah.
It's really especially for parents, like people in their mid-30s like me who enjoy the Mighty Ducks,
right,
who have kids that are the right age to like be watching a show.
You're like, here, like,
yeah,
love what I loved.
Yeah, they even bring back about half of the original Mighty Ducks like kids at one point. It's really cool. Like it's a fun sort of memory lane romp. Cool. Yeah, it is worth watching. I won't say anything more about it because I don't want to anger the podcast lords. So I'm going to switch gears to something that we both watched recently.
Yes.
And we will not spoil it, even though
I had to talk him out of spoiling this.
Here's the thing. You know me. Everyone who listens here knows me. I'm all about making sure we give that spoiler alert.
Yes.
But it's weird. So I think, and I'm going to blame Disney. This is Disney's fault. Disney's done this thing now where Raya and the Last Dragon, the next thing we're going to talk about, has been out for a couple of months now.
Right. Just like they did Mulan, it's in theaters or it's on like a premium access.
Right.
Yeah, where you can spend a buttload of money.
Yeah, you can pay $20 or $30 and watch it for
watch this movie once.
But so it only like in the last week and a half has come on Disney Plus where you can just watch it.
Right.
And so I've agreed, since it's still a short period of time where we figure probably most people didn't pay for premiere access and didn't go to the movie theater to watch Raya the Last Dragon. Yeah. Raya and the Last Dragon. We won't spoil it.
Right, but there's a ton to talk about.
And so
the best thing about the movie. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Awkwafina
for sure. Awkwafina is in this one. She is the Last Dragon, whose name is Sisu.
Yes.
She's great.
Man, I love Awkwafina, and I only know her in 2 things.
Yeah. You know how, I mean, she's been in a ton of things.
Well, the thing is that she's in a ton of things, and she's a music artist, and that I do not follow any musicians.
You don't follow
honestly.
her career.
No,
right,
I don't.
yeah.
I honestly don't know who's popular as far as music goes.
We're pretty out of
ever.
touch.
We're out of touch as far as current musicians. And when I say current, I mean like in the past 10 years.
Right.
Because we're totally those like 80s,
you know those
90s.
people who only listen to 80s rock and barbershop quartet music?
Yeah,
We're those people.
That's us. I love some good 90s and some early 2000s jams too, though.
Yeah. As long as they were by Maroon 5.
Oh man.
Natalie loves Maroon 5.
Oh yes. Not a lot of people understand why. Whatever.
I'm sorry. I think a few people might understand why.
Oh, you tell me why.
Oh, is it because there's like a hunky, like relatable guy as their front man?
Honestly, it's because I love singing with them.
Yeah, and they're right in your voice range.
They're right in my voice range. Adam Levine sings right in my voice range. Let's leave that.
Sure.
I don't know Awkwafina from her music career.
Right.
I only know her from now, Raya and the Last Dragon. Raya and the Last Dragon, and the second newer Jumanji movie, which she was also really good in.
So she plays, you know how, so this is not Pixar, it's Disney Animation.
Right.
You know how Disney makes movies and they always have like a very, like sort of a serious main character, not serious necessarily, but like a regular old main character, and then like a plucky, beyond plucky, like an over-the-top sidekick, a la Mushu and the Genie.
Right.
This is Sisu. This is Awkwafina's character.
Yeah.
She's the one that maybe she doesn't break the fourth wall, but she's the one that like in this sort of ancient Far Eastern, like sort of nebulous, like what culture it seems like it's meant to mirror Chinese culture in a lot of ways, but it's never spoken that it's that. So it's it's a sort of mythical Far Eastern culture.
Right. Something you pointed out, which we really appreciated, was that all of the main characters, save maybe one, were all Asian Asian actors being used as the voices.
Yeah, Disney did a great job of casting people with. So this isn't people doing accents,
right? It's legitimate, and it's it's not anything that people would go like, ugh. It's actually Asian characters playing Asian actors playing Asian characters.
And the only highly billed like non-Asian actor is Alan Tudyk, voicing an animal character.
Always voicing an animal character, and always voicing the dumb, goofy animal character that's just with the main.
Right.
And we love Alan Tudyk so much.
Amazing. So yeah, it's here's a funny thing, and so like I said, we're not going to give a lot of details. Here's some information you can tell from the previews. We're in this culture where they revere dragons as sort of as these beings that long ago saved the world, and events transpire that lead to sort of the world breaking, like all the cultures of the world sort of go to war with one another, and there's a hint, there's a suggestion that there's one dragon out there still who might be able to save the world, and it's Raya's duty to track that dragon down, and so that's why it's Raya and the Last Dragon. Right.
We watched this, and if you know the typical Disney prescription when it comes to making a movie, it does follow this.
Yeah.
But there are certain little things where I was actually surprised by something.
I agree.
Because I could pretty much predict, oh, there's going to be a betrayal here. Oh, this is going to be one of the plucky character. Oh, this is going to be the conflict here.
This will come back later. We'll see that later.
Right, because it's Disney, and Disney kind of follows a pattern. But there were a couple times where I went, oh, I didn't expect that.
Well, so I will give these. This is very broad. This isn't story points. It's just something that happens. If you're okay with it, I'm gonna double check that you're okay with it before I go forward. So here's a break. I'm gonna talk about the 6 years later, and I'm gonna talk about the sort of post-apocalyptic look of it.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Okay, so
he literally broke to tell me what he was gonna say, and I was like, "Yeah, okay, yeah."
I just want to make sure because I like this movie a lot.
Yeah.
And
it was really good.
And it would be really easy to talk about it a lot.
I wish Cora was a little more interested in it.
Yeah.
But Cora very rarely just sits and watches movies.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So here are a couple of things that happen at exactly the same moment in the movie, so you don't have to worry about like big spoilers.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about a story point, so if you don't want to hear it, skip ahead a few minutes. But this thing happens. So the first 20 minutes or so are setting up the world. You're learning who everyone is. You meet Raya. You figure out that she's in charge, like that she's one of these people connected to the sort of the dragons from almost not quite religious, but almost a religious perspective.
Well, reverence, like you said, they're highly revered.
And then the world breaking moment happens.
Yeah.
And up until that moment, literally Natalie and I were like throwing back and forth references. They're like, oh, this is that, this is that, this is that, this is that.
Yeah.
And so that happens. We're like, yep. And now she falls in the water. Now she's going to float away from everyone. She's going to be safe. And then like it fades to black and then it fades back up on like a desert and it goes 6 years later. And both me and Natalie were like, oh.
Yeah. It was not one of those things where the characters get to immediately pluck up their courage and decide this is what I'm gonna do. Like
right.
It wasn't an immediate. It was suddenly like, oh, Raya's grown up now, and she's figuring all this out. Like it's no longer a little kid like figuring things out. Now we have a adult who is trying to fix the world.
Right.
And I think that both kind of took us by surprise when we did that. Also, I wanted to say, the first scene, and it's not even the scene, it's the first shot of the movie is of just this like stone.
Oh, it's Yeah, it's just like this marking stone like coming up out of the water or something.
Yeah, well, I don't remember exactly where it was, but I'm just saying it's the first shot of the movie, and I almost said to Rich, I said, oh, I thought this was animated. Because
yes,
just looking at it, I thought it was real stone. Like, it looked like a real shot from real life.
Yeah, most of this
animation is insane.
Most of this movie, if you took the people out of this movie, it looks like real landscapes. Yeah, a lot of it.
Oh, the landscaping is amazing.
It's a beautiful, beautiful movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just this really cool thing. Like it comes up and we're in the future. So yeah, now we're dealing with an adult. We're not dealing with a child. And it's like this really cool, like I feel like Disney hasn't ever done a post-apocalyptic setting. And that's what this is very much.
Yeah.
Like the world is dry as a husk.
Yeah.
And there's people who are like barely surviving the thing that is threatening the world, which we won't spoil.
Right.
So, but yeah, it's very cool. And I mean, beats come back around. You things happen that you're expecting.
It's predictable, but not in a way where you don't enjoy it.
Right.
It's predictable in a way where you're like, oh, okay, I can see Disney in this.
Yeah, they sort of take you along for like a few minutes and then do something a little bit different. And it's just enough of like, oh, okay.
And I think we both went like, oh, that's very Mulan-ish. Or, oh, that's very, I forgot what else we said. Like, well, now I'm not going to remember. Yeah. I think I'm thinking Mulan because that also was Asian
setting
culture.
Is similar, yeah.
But yeah, we really enjoyed it.
Yeah, for sure. Go watch it. It's on Disney Plus.
It's on Disney Plus.
If you've got it, go watch it. And I don't think it's in theaters anymore. I don't know. Are people going to theaters now? I guess they can.
My parents do.
If you're going to theaters and it's still in a theater near you, check it out there.
My parents go to the theater and they're just limited as to where they can sit and stuff.
Raya's sword is really cool. I'm deeply into swords.
Raya's sword is very cool.
Her weapon's very cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's Raya and the Last Dragon. It's a recommend. It's a good one.
Just watch it.
Just watch it.
For Awkwafina.
Watch it for Awkwafina.
Oh my goodness.
And then tweet at Awkwafina and tag us.
She's pretty cool.
She does a really
love
good
her
job.
Voice.
Yeah.
Her voice is so unique.
Let's talk about this too, because her character, they actually make look a lot like her.
Yes.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Her character because
similar to.
Well, she's okay. So she's a dragon.
Yeah.
But she can take human forms sometimes.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's not spoiling anything, but. In her human form, her face looks like Awkwafina's face.
And even in dragon form, like before we saw her like change shape, she was making these like facial expressions where like, okay, like that. They did like what they did with the genie in Aladdin. Like the genie looks like Robin Williams.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think they did that here too. I think Sisu looks like Awkwafina, and that makes it really good.
And it made us go like, okay, did they make Sisu for Awkwafina, or did Awkwafina make Sisu be Awkwafina?
Hard to say. Who knows? Someone knows.
Yeah.
If you work for Disney,
oh my goodness,
on the production team. Yeah, first of all, hello, and oh my goodness,
welcome.
And second of all, we love your work. And then third of all, tell us your secrets. Anyway. Okay. So that's a lot. It's a very Disney heavy episode so far. So that's a lot all at once. Take a quick break. Let's pull over in Promoville.
That was pulling over.
We almost missed the exit. We had to slam on the brakes. And we're back. Natalie.
Hi.
This is going to be good.
Okay, I'm worried about it because all my notes are gone. Like I told you guys, all my notes are gone. How much time do I have left, by the way? I'm just really hoping that I do it justice because this is a classic.
It is a classic, and it's a family film.
Yes. This is okay. So I'm going to talk about The Princess Bride, and this is not a children's movie. It is labeled as a family film.
Yeah, it's like a family adventure.
But I watched it as a child.
Sure.
And have always thoroughly enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. I cannot tell you how old I was when I watched it because I honestly don't remember yesterday. So,
well, Fred Savage is like 7 in it, so.
Oh, well, I that does nothing for me, but thank you for trying to do that. So, The Princess Bride was adapted by the book from 1973 by William Goldman. It was released in the United States on September 25th, 1987. And it was well received, but it was only kind of a modest box office success at the time.
Yeah.
Over time, though, it has become more of a cult film. Its ratings and awards from just being the classic that it is are numerous. Is our dog having a nightmare or something, or is she just itching herself?
I think she's okay.
Sorry, she's just making a lot of noise. So, at the beginning, we see a grandfather coming in to visit his sick grandson. Grandfather is
Peter Falk.
Thank you.
Columbo.
I don't have my notes pulled up, so I feel like I sound like I don't know what I'm talking about. Yes, Peter Falk, and he is talking to his grandson, who is Fred Savage.
Correct.
At first, Fred is like, "No, Grandpa, I don't even remember what his name is."
You know what's funny?
He's just like the grandson.
Yeah.
And the grandpa.
It's funny because it's like the mid 80s.
He's like,
and the grandpa's like, "I'm gonna read you a book," and the kid's like, "Books."
Well, the grandpa walks in and the kid's playing like, what is he playing, like Pong or something like that?
Yeah, he's playing Atari or something.
Atari, yeah. And he's like, books. Nobody watches books anymore.
You can't even, how do you book?
How do you watch a book? Anyway, we all know the story. And if you don't, I beg of you, please go watch The Princess Bride.
Yeah, pause us, go watch it, come back.
We have Buttercup, who is a young farm woman who falls in love with Wesley. And he says the classic line, as you wish.
As you wish.
As you wish. And that just basically for him means, I love you.
I will do whatever you want.
I will do what you want because I'm in love with you. They love each other. He goes off to seek his fortune on the seas or in a different country. And it comes back to her that his ship was taken by the Dread Pirate Roberts. And pirate. That he was killed in that interaction.
Yeah.
We jump forward to 5 years later where Buttercup has basically been forced to become the fiance of Prince Humperdinck.
Poor thing.
And oh my goodness, Prince Humperdinck is played by shoot, you guys.
I can never remember his name.
I don't have my stuff up.
The guy.
Oh my goodness. I'm gonna be so irritated. Okay. Sorry, everybody.
Prince Humperdinck is a guy.
And he's the worst. He plans with some scoundrels to kidnap her so that he can go to war with a different country. Mm-hmm. These scoundrels are supposed to kidnap her. They're supposed to say to Prince Humperdinck, we are from this other country. Florin? No, he is the heir to Florin.
That's right. Gilder.
Oh, Gilder. You're right. Great memory.
Yeah.
Because he wants to go against Gilder and to rule everything. So she is taken by Vicini, Fezzik, and Indigo Montoya.
Prepare to die.
I'm just going to go through the whole story really quickly. They are pursued by Prince Humperdinck because he's supposed to keep up appearances that he's trying to get her back.
For sure.
They also realize they're being pursued by a man in black. The man in black turns out to be the Dread Pirate Roberts trying to get her. But why is he trying to get her? Because Wesley is the Dread Pirate Roberts now. You guys, if you have never seen this movie, all of this is spoilers, but this movie has been out for 33 years. So
can I just stop for a second? Because there's a thing that I don't remember. Mm-hmm. Quick point. We have the book and we've read the book.
Yeah.
I don't remember this from the book though. And I'm trying to, the thing is when you're watching the movie,
the book is different than the movie for sure.
Yeah. But I think this point is the same. I think Wesley did become the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yes.
In the movie, this is not a secret. Like, he catches up and he's like, I'm the Dread Pirate Roberts. And you're like, you're Carrie Elwes. We can see who you are.
Right.
And so, like, there's not a big surprise reveal.
No.
There's not a Darth Vader moment where, like, that turns out to be true. I feel like in the book, there must have been a lot more weight behind that, like, double reveal of, like, who are we being chased by? What's going on? It's the Dread Pirate Roberts, who we already know killed this nice boy that we like.
I honestly have not read the book in...
Oh, it's been forever.
A very long time. In the movie, they see he's the Dread Pirate Roberts, and he goes, yeah, I'm the Dread Pirate Roberts. And then he tries to interview Buttercup as the Dread Pirate Roberts, saying, like, you didn't even mourn for this kid that I killed.
He's like,
stuff like that.
I totally remember killing him.
He's like, okay, it's 5 years later, you're engaged to another guy, which, by the way, 5 years.
That's plenty of time.
That's a good bit of time. I have never been in that situation, but it is a good bit of time.
It's maybe a short amount of time. Like, if you think about, especially like we're weird. We got engaged pretty quick. Right. Natalie and I did. Like by almost anyone's standards.
Right.
But so I can see how like a year or two to mourn, and then like a few years to like get back in it and then also find that person and then also get engaged.
Yeah.
So I can see how it feels like I just want to stick up for the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Okay, and that also makes me feel really good.
Why?
Because it would take you 5 years to get over me. It should take you 1,005.
Oh, well. 1,005.
You should die alone.
What I'm suggesting
I would
is
never want that.
What I'm suggesting is that 5 years. I agree with the Dread Pirate Roberts. I think 5 years is pretty quick.
It's pretty quick, yeah. And then it just comes about that she's just like, I mean, I don't love Humperdinck. I love my Wesley, and you killed him. And she pushes him down a hill. And as he's rolling down the hill, he goes, "As you wish." And she goes, "Oh, my sweet Wesley, what have I done?" And she throws herself down the hill.
In one of the most slapstick moments of the movie, like,
and it's boom, ow, oh, because they are hitting. They
roll down the hill for
bottoms,
a full 30 seconds.
Their backs, their heads, and yeah. Then they go into the forest where they meet up with the fire swamp, where they meet up with several challenges, namely the ROUSs, the rodents of unusual size,
and the fire spurts.
On the other side, they come out and Humperdinck's waiting for them. She says, "Don't kill him. I will come with you if you just let him go." Humperdinck, being the outstanding person he is, goes like,
yeah,
for
totally.
sure, and takes her and then throws Wesley in the pit of despair.
Can't trust that Prince Humperdinck guy.
Blah, blah, blah. Wesley ends up basically being tortured, and but in a way that's okay. So like, this is a family film,
sure,
and there is, but we also have sword fights, stabbings, poisonings, rodents of unusual size,
yeah, big old mouses,
we have torture to death, basically,
yeah.
And I mean, we have a whole speech that Wesley does about to the pain,
yeah,
instead of to the death,
right?
Which brings about a mental image that really is
gruesome.
It's gruesome. Now, everybody makes their own judgments about what their kid watches.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, if your child has never seen this and you have never seen it, I would like you to watch this movie before you show it to your child.
Yeah, for sure. I will say,
even though it is labeled as a family film,
I will say the to the pain thing is like a thing from the end.
Yeah.
And the image the mental image it gives you, it doesn't show anything, obviously.
No, it doesn't. But
the
he
mental image
describes
is a lot.
something.
But I will say, like, as tortures go,
yeah.
Carrie Elwes does a good job of selling like the pain of the moment,
right? But there's no blood.
But I will say, what my whole thing is, as tortures go, essentially all they do is like, all right, we're going to gently place these suction cups on you, and then we're just going to turn a water wheel.
Oh, right. Basically, what they're doing is sucking a year of life out of him,
right,
through some weird science. So there's no cutting, there's no blood, there's nothing like that. It's just that Carrie Elwes emotes a lot of pain. What?
Do you know what I just realized?
What?
The machine from oh man.
What?
The machine the machine from The Princess Bride is the same machine that Niski uses in Firefly. Like, they do almost the same thing.
Except not water, but
no,
yeah.
they don't, like, they're not identical. I'm not saying like
water.
they use the same prop. I'm saying it's basically the same thing. Because that machine, this is not for anyone. This is for you and me.
Okay.
It steals.
Well, I'm glad we're talking about it right now.
It steals, because it steals life too. Doesn't he say he steals life with that machine? Anyway, go ahead. I just realized that there was a connection between two of my favorite franchises.
Wesley ends up, in quotes, dying from this, and then he is taken by those ruffians we saw from the beginning. He's taken to Miracle Max,
Billy
who is Billy Crystal. Again, classic. All of this is classic.
It's super classic.
He's revived. They go and storm the castle. And
have fun storming the castle.
And they get Buttercup.
Yeah.
But that's the extreme basics of it. Chris Sarandon is Prince Humperdinck.
There you go.
Mandy Patinkin is Indigo Montoya.
Classic.
We also have Andre the Giant as Fezzik.
Also amazing.
I wanted to talk about Andre the Giant.
Oh yeah, and how he almost wasn't Fezzik.
Yes. Let me find, because again, this was what I talked about in the episode that didn't save properly.
That you'll never hear.
Yeah, so Rich has already heard these things. First off, Rob Reiner.
Rob Reiner.
Reiner. I always say, who am I trying to say?
I don't know.
Who's Rainier?
Again, I think the only Rainier I can think of is Rainier from the Adventure Zone.
Okay. Well, Rob Reiner, he loved the book. And he decided he wanted to make a film out of it.
By the way, the book came out in like the 70s, right?
Yes.
In like the early 70s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I said it at the beginning. Let me go back. It was 1973.
Yeah.
That the book came out. So he read the book. He wanted Cary Elwes from the very beginning to be Wesley. But at the time, the casting period was in Los Angeles and Elwes was in Germany on a different set doing something different. So Reiner actually flew out to Berlin to meet with Elwes, and they decided at that time that he would be the character. Elwes actually had read the book in his childhood as well and had always associated himself with the character of Wesley. Mm-hmm. So even from from childhood, Cary Elwes was like, I feel like I could be this character.
How old was Cary Elwes?
I don't know. And but he never thought he would be able to play him.
Sure.
Robin Wright was cast very late in the process. They auditioned many actresses, but didn't find just the right fit. So her agent heard of the casting call and asked her to audition. She went and did a little bit of an audition. They invited her to come and meet Goldman, the original author of the book. And this is the quote from somebody that was there. Quote, "The doorbell rang. Rob went to the door, and literally, as he opened the door, she was standing there in this little white summer dress with her long blonde hair, and she had a halo from the sun. She was backlit by God. And Bill Goldman looked across the room at her, and he said, 'Well, that's what I wrote.'"
That's how you get the job.
So
that's how you get cast. Just be the person from the book.
Goldman originally wanted Fezzik to be Andre the Giant at the very beginning, but he was in the midst of his wrestling career at the time, and he was unavailable for filming. So Goldman's second choice was Arnold Schwarzenegger, who at the time nobody knew him as an actor. Nobody.
Yeah, he wasn't such a big deal yet.
Right. But by the time The Princess Bride actually got greenlit, Schwarzenegger was a huge film star and was too expensive.
Yeah.
The studio could not afford him. So they contacted the World Wrestling Federation asking about hiring Andre, but was told that the filming conflicted with a wrestling match that was supposed to be in Tokyo. So he auditioned other people like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Lou Ferrigno, and a few other, but those just didn't pan out. At the end of casting, the World Wrestling Federation told the casting director that Andre's match in Tokyo had been canceled, and now he was cleared if they still wanted him to play the role of Fezzik. He says, Andre, the Giant specifically said that he really liked participating in the filming experience because no one stared at him on set during production as a freak.
Yeah.
He said they just treated him as a fellow member of the cast.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's really cool. Also, really cool. I love this. Carrie Elwes and Mandy Patinkin learned to fence both left and right-handed.
Had to. For
the film and performed pretty much every single scene of their fencing was them except for the somersaults and backflips. The two where they spin on the thing and go down.
They were not trained in gymnastics.
But they did all of that fencing. They were actually trained by fencing instructors and stunt arrangers who had worked on the Star Wars trilogy.
Sure. That's not surprising at all, actually.
And they spent most of their free time off camera practicing with each other. They watched a lot of sword fights. They practiced. They came up with their own choreography. Or they didn't come up with their own. They learned each other's choreography to help them avoid accidents and anticipate each other's movements.
Yeah.
Also, Andre the Giant had undergone major back surgery before filming. And he could not support the weight of Elwes. And you know, several times you see him carrying people because he is so big. He would just pick some of these people up. When you see him picking them up, he's actually on ramps. When he's hanging out. So like, I think that eased his back to be on a ramp. Mm-hmm. Also those are for the close shots. For the wide shots, a stunt double played Andre.
So he didn't actually free solo carry up 3 people up the cliffs of despair.
No, he didn't. Also,
cliffs of
when
insanity.
at the cliffs of insanity. When he was carrying Robin Wright, she was actually suspended by cables because they didn't want him to injure himself. Another thing that I really loved was Billy Crystal and his, I'm not a witch, I'm your wife. Mm-hmm. His wife, who is Carol Kane, spent a lot of time together traveling to England and working out the backstory of Miracle Max. They have such a small role as far as the overall movie is concerned, but they wanted to do it right. So they worked out a backstory between Miracle Max and his wife and then developed a rapport with each other. So then when they got on set, they improvised a lot of their stuff.
They just were an old married couple.
They were. Exactly. Like I said, the film at first was a modest success. It grossed $30.8 million at the United States and Canada box office, but that was only on a $16 million production budget. It's a 97 approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And the Cinema Score gave it an A+. The critics just love it, and it has like this complete legacy now.
Sure.
And I'm not going to be able to go through everything, but as you know, just from after that point, merchandise and the just buying of the film and stuff like that had to increase that.
Sure. By a good bit.
Yeah, by a lot. But
and then
sorry, you guys, if you guys heard our dog.
Yeah, she's moving around
being
a lot.
Really loud. She's acting super itchy or something, and she keeps like shaking herself and scratching herself and growling at herself. So
the last thing, and I don't have it in front of me, so I don't have the like the whole cast list. But we also mentioned in the last episode that there was a proposed. I never saw anything that said that it had been taken out of production. But that there was or out of development, a reboot for The Princess Bride, theoretically in production with lots of characters attached or lots of actors attached.
Potential remake. It was in 2019, an article came out saying that very famous people whose names I won't use, they want to redo The Princess Bride.
Yeah.
The reaction on social media was extremely, extremely negative. So there's a line that says there's a shortage of perfect. Can we say breasts?
Yeah, we can say it. It's a real word.
There's a shortage of perfect breasts in this world. It would be a pity to damage yours.
Yeah.
Because she's about to hurt herself. But and he stops her. But I saw several memes go out and I think Carrie Elwes actually said this. Here it is. There's Carrie Elwes said that, okay, I'm sorry. A remake would be a bad idea. And a lot of people said it would be inconceivable. Elwes paraphrased the film saying, there's a shortage of perfect movies in this world. It would be a pity to damage this one. So I think I haven't heard that it is happening. I haven't heard that squashed it. But I think there would be an uprising. Yeah,
it would be pretty bad. I mean, the movie could be good.
The movie could be good. It's just, but then again, they revamped Star Wars, and people love it and people hate it. So it's just gonna be who likes it and who hates it.
One other thing I wanted to mention super quick is the book.
Yeah.
And because one thing we didn't have a chance to talk about this time that we mentioned last time is that the book came out in 1973. And like that year, people were like, "This should be a movie," and so like it kept trying to be developed, and they couldn't do it. And we sort of speculated because we have read it. It's a weird book.
Yeah,
like when you read it, the story points that are like the grandfather reading the book, like the actual like fantasy characters part of the story is not far off. Like it's not exactly the same, but it's not far off those same story points in the book. But the thing about the book is that it's meant to be an abridged story that's been translated from Florinese into English by this person, and that he ends up like, so in the book, the joke is that he's abridging this book so that it's consumable, right? And so like you'll see these when you're reading the book, there'll be a story and it'll interrupt itself and go, okay, this is me again. The next several pages are detailed descriptions of the forest, and you don't need that. Yeah. So here's what the forest looked like, and it'll like do a quick description,
right?
And then like, okay, let's move on. And like, and so like I can understand how like that would be really challenging to set to a movie because about half of the story is the interruptions that happen. Yeah. And so like
intentional interruptions that the author made to make it seem like somebody else was abridging this book.
So turning it into this grandfather telling the story to his son and kind of doing the same thing at moments is like, yeah, okay, don't worry about that. Okay, we can skip the scary part. Okay, well, you might like the kissy part.
I don't want to listen to the kissing.
Right. And so like figuring out a mechanic to make the interruptions and the action make sense. Yeah. Was, I'm sure, the biggest challenge, and executed in a genius way. There was also some fan theories. Remember that maybe even though this doesn't make sense because I'm
gonna go ahead and tell you it doesn't
because
make
the
much
countries
sense.
Don't exist and it's obviously set in far too far a time ago. Right. But there's it's fun. There's this fan theory that in the movie the grandfather character played by Columbo,
Peter Falk.
Yep. That
I'm sure he really appreciates people just calling him Columbo.
I don't think Peter Falk's around anymore. Rest in peace, Peter Falk. I assume. But anyway, my point is that he is Wesley. Mm-hmm. And that like that's why he loves this book so much and wants to pass it along. That doesn't really make sense or hold a lot of water, but it's fun.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry. Dog's being really
She's
distracting.
and it's becoming more and more. So let's wrap this puppy up.
Okay.
I think we did a successful episode of a podcast.
Oh man, I hope so.
And if you liked it, then we would love to hear from you. Make sure you head out to your favorite pod getter, whether that's iTunes or whether that's somewhere else. And if you are able to leave reviews or stars or whatever rating out of 5, we would love to hear that feedback from you. If you're not sure where's a good place to do that, especially if you're not an iPhone user, head over to podchaser.com. We're not paid to promote Podchaser. I just think it's a really cool website. It's basically the IMDb of podcasts. You can head over there and leave us a review, and that's always appreciated as well. Thank you to Shad Warrell for creating our super cool personalized It's Just For Us theme music. You can find his work at soundcloud.com/Shad-Warrell, and there will be a link in the show notes for him. I don't think there's anything else. Am I missing something?
Nope.
All right. Well, we know that life is hectic right now still, in new and different ways. Cause like we're relearning what normal is. Sometimes your computer's being really stupid.
Yeah.
Just never forget through all of that, when you click that TV on and you're tempted to hand over control to your little one. Oh my gosh, that dog. Just never forget that you're the boss.
So watch whatever you want.
Okay, bye.
Bye.